what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women. Hello, ladies. It is Jessica Weaver, your host of Women Behind the Millions. Welcome back, Money Queens, to another episode. I am so excited for tonight's interview because you're going to see the other side of owning and running a financial firm, which is really neat. We're going to bring on a guest. They were a huge part of our Financial Trendsetters Mastermind and our gala as well, helping us raise over $5,000 for a scholarship for a young woman. She's attending Stanford, and she's an economics major. And I can't wait to see what she does with this huge opportunity and hopefully keep her in our world, in our community as well for it. And as always, we love to start with what is that kind of grounding thing for the episode tonight. And this came up, you'll understand why as we talk about tonight's guest. Your energy, your attitude, your positivity, your words, your ability to listen to others and truly dwell in the present. All those things make you a person others want to be with, want to work with, want to share ideas with. That energy is a spiritual basis of wealth creation. The energy that you are putting out into the world. I was just on one of our other advisors' podcasts called Bad Bitch, which I think we're kind of rebranding the word bitch and what it means. But we were talking about she's kind of new on her spiritual religious journey. And we said how we need to make it personal, right? It can't be somebody's version being projected onto you or forced into their box, their version of what it's like to be religious or spiritual, whatever it is. And we all decided that no matter what, we can all agree that the world is made up of energy, right? Everything is just an exchange of energy. That's just quantum physics right there. So that energy that you decide to be in and in the present moment is what you're putting out, and that's what you're going to get back. So you sit in love and positivity and gratitude. That's what's going out and what's going to come back to you. Waves of it back to you. And to tee up our guest tonight, I'll give you a little background of this amazing company. And this is how a lot of advisors are using to grow. And we grow for many reasons. We grow, one, to build a thriving, successful practice so that we can hire more people. And when we hire people, we're changing their lives, their families' lives. We're using it to build out educational resources for us in particular, as you know, women, men, women, families, couples, whatever it is. We're using it as a platform to get our message out there, our mission out there to help people. At least that's what we vision it as. And this company is a way we do that by tapping into different communities and networks, households, to bring them to us. We can unite through education is the priority as well. So we decided we were going to do some of these events earlier this year. And it was a little crazy because we sent out through this company mailers. And within, I think, a week, we had 2 dinners that we set up for this event. We were going to treat women to a dinner so that they can get educated and have a good time in a social environment, which is right up our alley, full alignment with us. So 2 dinners, 35 women at each, sold out within the first week. And we threw in an extra dinner that sold out in the coming days. So much so that we had a waiting list of over 50 women wanting to have dinner with us. So we had 2 more dates in April, and we had another probably around 40, 50 women attend those as well. So through this one strategy campaign, it opened up 5 dinners where we got to treat women to a great dinner, but more importantly, an event with a very safe place. And we had women towards retirement or in retirement, different cultures as well. And they came there with questions. They came there to learn. They were so excited to be there. Even if they were married and had a partner, they felt like it was their time to understand what was going on. We've noticed a lot, sadly, unfortunately, a lot of financial abuse happening with women, where their spouses are financial bullies, we'll say, in keeping the women in the dark of what's happening with the money, not allowing them to see the different accounts where they are, to have a say in the conversation around money, to meet the accountant, the advisor. We've seen women with six-figure tax notices to the IRS that they had no idea about. Unpaid bills, credit card, mortgages, houses going into foreclosure. We've seen women whose spouse did Ponzi scheme. Unfortunately, he was an advisor, and so he ended up in jail. We've seen a lot, ladies. We have. So for us, getting the education out there and the resources out there is why we do this show, why we have all these books, and why we partnered with this firm in particular to host these events. It's really important to us. It's a way we give back. It's a way we also help grow and build our mission and just let women know that we are here. We are here. We are here to help and support you. Education is one of our biggest core values at the Wealth Boutique. Again, education above all else. All right. So with that, I'm going to give a little intro into tonight's guest here. Jennifer DeBuhr is the VP of Sales with Leading Response. She has worked with the organization for over 20 years and has personally facilitated, listen to this, over 60,000 seminars, tens of thousands of other marketing campaigns in her tenure. She pioneered Leading Responses initiatives in marketing to women and considers that one of her greatest career accomplishments. She is dedicated to creating marketing messages that are more inclusive of all audiences, which is so important for us here, particularly as we know, ladies, in the male-dominated industry. So I am going to bring Jen DeBuhr up on stage. Welcome, Jen, to Women Behind the Millions.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you so much for having me.
There she is. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am fabulous. I'm excited to talk to you. 20 years at Leading Response. We have to get into what brought you into Leading Response first and foremost. And can you give us a little background on what Leading Response does for financial advisors, financial firms?
Leading Response has been in business for close to 30 years now. We are generally credited as the company who created the dinner seminar. That idea was really born with us and our company founder close to 30 years ago. And since then, we've done all different sorts of marketing. We are not just limited to dinner seminars anymore. We've grown and expanded and evolved over the last 30 years for sure. But it's still very much a core component of our business. So 20 years ago, I came in and I had a marketing background. And one of my friends had been like, there's this really great firm that I think you should check out. And so I applied for the job and I didn't really believe him that it was going to be as awesome as it was. And 20 years later, I am still here and so incredibly grateful for my career with the company. And I tell people all the time, like at Leading Response, what we're paid to do is to help businesses grow their businesses, right? That's, how we get paid. We're marketers. But that's not what drives me. What drives me is knowing that I'm connecting people who need help and guidance with the experts that can help and guide them. So that's really at the core of it, is helping Americans all across the country.
Yes. And you recently spoke, Jen, at our Financial Trendsetters Mastermind as well. You've taken a big role in helping build out that female presence at Leading Response as well. Can we go into that?
Yeah. So it started probably about 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, I was approached by some women advisors. And they had talked about marketing to women and they had talked about marketing Social Security to women. And I said, well, women's events are great and Social Security events are great. And I would love to help you grow your business. Let's do this. And so we started doing these events to women specifically. And we did over the years, in those past 15 years or so, we've done thousands, tens of thousands of these events to women. And so it had become my personal project Like, anytime someone would ask about marketing to women, I would raise my hand and I'm like, I'll help. I'll help guide you for this. I'm here for it. And I am so proud in my career. I'm like, one of the things that I am proud of is that I've connected probably tens of thousands of women to advisors to help them when they have been so for the last 30, 40, 50 years completely spoken over, not talked to, not heard, potentially disrespected in some cases. And so here I was, and I was sending these messages out to them going, listen, we're going to speak to you. This is for you. And they would go to these events and they would feel heard and spoken to. And I believe in many cases for the first time ever. And that's something like I want even my daughter to be proud of, that we helped, that I have helped participate and play a small role in making the financial industry more inclusive.
Yes. And I know in New Jersey, and this is recent, they have announced that financial abuse is a crime,
Yeah.
which is very important. And a lot of women don't realize it's happening, or that's just was the traditional roles that people played, but then it gets to an extreme side of it. So you're right. Just respected or not respected enough to include the spouse in the conversations or the big decisions, or even what advisor they work with. So this is the woman's opportunity chance to get educated and know that she has allies and support and resources too, and is finally heard. That's incredible. How old is your daughter, Jen?
She's 8.
She's 8 now. What does she think of your work?
Ha all she knows is that I'm a vice president, and so it's really cute. Like, she doesn't like, she learned in 2nd grade about the president and the vice presidents, and she's like, "My mommy's a vice president." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not that one." Vice president of a marketing company. Not the vice president, but she's also really phenomenal. We should talk about her.
Oh, that's amazing. And she gets to see you. Other children, Jen?
Nope, just the one.
The daughter. Very cool. Very cool. All right, switching gears here. Talking about marketing. When you presented, it's very it came through how much strategy leading response puts into putting this all together for the advisors to get their message out there, to host these educational events as well. Can we talk about, right? It's not just these flashy fun things that people do. You put a lot of research into what the process looks like for leading response to get people into the room as well. Let's talk about marketing strategy a little bit. Do you have a background in marketing?
I do. I have my bachelor's is in marketing. My master's is in management and leadership. But my bachelor's is in marketing, and that's what I've been doing for 20 years. So we everything that we do is based on data, and what we do is coach our clients. So a lot of companies kind of try to keep all of their secrets, if you will, their behind the scenes, right? It's all kind of, they don't want to share. And we're the exact opposite. We're completely transparent. And in every presentation I give, I remind myself, I'm like, I'm here to give. And I want to give everyone information that they can use, whether or not they ever worked with leading response, just stuff that's going to help them. And we will teach our clients everything that we know. So we'll teach them what are the best days to hold events, what are the best strategies, what's effective content, what locations should we use. All of that we're giving to them. And then we'll give them as much guidance on the event itself, because we know that in order for us to be successful, you guys have to be successful. That we want you to be advocates and talking about how amazing these events were, like you did in your intro, right? That's important. But again, even more important than that is we want to make sure that the events are wildly successful so that we can help as many people as possible. And with these women's events, we want them to be wildly successful so that we can help as many women as possible.
Yes. And when you think about, right, we all have our networks, a kind of pool of people that we know, family, friends, coworkers, peers, and whatnot. It's hard to then get beyond that inner circle bubble. And that's what I feel you all help us do, is to touch these people that we normally wouldn't come into contact with either. And we can get very stuck in that own little bubble. And there's so many people. And we never think we're in competition with another advisor, because there's so many people who could use the help. So many people as well.
I think, I tell people, I'm like, so we've done thousands of these. I've reached maybe tens of thousands of women, and I'm really proud of that. But that's the tip of the iceberg. If we talk about in 10, 15 years, we've talked to tens of thousands of women. That's not enough, Jessica. It's not enough. We've got to do way more. There's so many women out there that need your help, that need other financial advisors that are going to listen to them, that are going to care about them, that are going to speak their language to them. We want to help every woman who needs that guidance. And we need to help her find you.
I agree 100%, Jen. How about that makes me think of consistency. How important is it to have a consistent marketing strategy as you're doing these outreach programs?
I believe in both consistency and flexibility because yeah, because we're going to the first one, I think the first time you go out there and you do an event, it's a big learning curve. I You and I both do a ton of presentations. You're doing your TD show all the time, right? And every time you do one, I'm sure that you self-feedback and you're like, I could have done something a little bit differently here. I've been doing presentations for 20 years. Every single one that I do, I self-feedback and I'm like, wish I would have said that a little differently. I wish I would have done that a little differently. So when someone's getting started, their first one, we're like, just let's look at this as like a learning lesson. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to learn that you want to do things differently. You're going to do things the first night, learn some lessons, do them differently the second time. And the more of these that you do, then the better you're going to get. And you're still going to have curveballs. Whenever I'm teaching my team about presentations, I'm like, always be prepared to go off script. You have no idea what's going to happen. I've never once had a presentation go perfectly smoothly. I don't think I'm ever going to have a presentation go perfectly smoothly. So we need to learn how to be flexible in that. And we need to learn that, we start with a marketing plan and we need a marketing plan, but then that marketing plan may shift and change. And that's okay.
Yes, to your point. So doing one and being done is not enough, right? That is kind of the guinea pig. We're going to test things out, get the feel for it, get the flow. I also, and you all were a huge support in this, talk to other people who have done it, get their feedback, what worked for them, what they wish they had known, what they would have done differently, prep differently. We did that with a few people, which was very, very helpful as well. And I like that kind of playing, being in that playful space. Let's see if this is going to work. If we tweak this, but not being women, we get very hard on ourselves too, right? That self talk, the self criticism, critter, especially when we're in front of a room of strangers, it can be very intimidating and overwhelming. But what we tried to do was bring really fun energy. We would talk about the books, we would engage the audience right off the bat. We would even say, right, who has an advisor here? Who has a spouse? So we can get a feel for the room, who's in there, as that would kind of direct where we're going to go, where we'll spend more time maybe than other places within the educational event.
My biggest advice to people is to lighten it up. You know, I think it can get so heavy when we're talking about retirement, we're talking finances, it can get really technical. People can get really into heavy technical language. And I'm like, just remember, we're throwing a party. Like, it's a social event, it's a social engagement. Make it fun, make it playful, and everyone will be more entertained by that.
Yes. Yes. Playful, that energy. And it's so different than what they're expecting.
Yeah,
And
they're
right. What they've experienced in the past. That's a great, Jen, to keep it light, keep it playful, consistency. There's a whole strategy behind it as well. Let's say I'm a newer advisor. Is this something that I can take on myself, engaging with leading response, hosting these dinners? What would you say to a newer advisor?
Yes, absolutely. We can do it. Let's do it. Let's go for it. But I want to set them up with coaches such as yourself. So I don't want someone, the last thing I ever want is someone investing a big chunk and leveraging themselves to throw this event and not feeling confident that they know what they're doing. So I'm always like, if someone is a brand new advisor, I'm like, okay, who are you working with? Who is your team behind you? What coaches do we have behind you that can help support you so that you feel walking into this confident that you got it?
Yes, it's an investment into your practice, into your growth, into the education of your network as well. That's why I love the company, just the support above and beyond just getting the mailers out there. What do you do before the event, during the event, post the event? Talk about consistency post the event, right? How do you engage with people? And I want to ask you this too, Jen. We've noticed that sometimes, talk about top of the pyramid, right? We have those few percentage, right? Probably around 5, 6%. They're ready to go. They came to the event because they know they want to work with an advisor or they want to work with whatever professional at any kind of event, right? They came to kind of seal the deal. But then the bulk of that P triangle, they're there to kinda get more information, to research you, see what you're about, learn how you work with clients, and they might take action right away, or they might just wanna stay in your world, your community for a little bit. How can people keep them engaged along the way until they're ready to make that decision?
I think you should absolutely expect that. I mean, as someone is coming up to retirement and think of ourselves or any big major decision that we're making, we're going to start to educate ourselves first. We're likely going to start to educate ourselves a couple of years at least before retirement, and it would be foolish not to do so. So you've got to know that a lot of the people who come to your event, there's some who are ready that are retiring or post retirement, or they might have just had a devastating life event where their spouse passed away or they're in a divorce or something like that, and they need help now. So there are those. And then there are those who are getting ready. And I think, when people are doing marketing and they're like, well, I want the people who are ready now. And well, that's really short-sighted, right? We're here to take care of people. We're here to give and we're here to serve. So what we need to do is stay with those people as they transition. And so any sort of follow-up system that you have, that where you're staying in touch with them, sending them newsletters, staying in contact, all that sort of thing is really powerful. But just know that there's a portion of your audience that is coming that is a very valid, qualified candidate that needs your help and guidance, but they're a year or so away from that life-changing decision that's going to actually make them a client.
Yes, especially women, it seems, and get your opinion on this too. Women like to get very educated before they're making a decision. They might be slower to sign up, but they also tend to be more loyal.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
They commit, more relationship focused as well. So getting to know the person, their values, what it will be like ongoing if they were to join us. And then sometimes there's those triggering events, a death, right? A loved one passing away, divorce, getting laid off or getting retirement package that they weren't expecting that kind of triggers them, but they want to work with us as well. So being a long-term game as well, right? There's the short end of people who are ready to take those actions, but then the long-term one, don't forget about those people that they might be cyber stalking you. We see that now. They might be reading every single email, every single post. Don't discredit that. They're there lurking in the shadows, waiting, and then something's gonna happen. And I think they make better clients because they did that background work.
Because they took so long to make that decision.
Mhm.
And I always, as I said in at the event in Jersey, and as I believe, I'm like, I tell everyone, just give. Just give from your heart. Give from this sincere, authentic place and just know that it's coming back to you. And that rule is true in business and it's true in life. And it's just true. The more we give from our heart, the more it comes back one way, shape, or another. And I have this client, he's a male advisor, but he markets primarily to women. And he had a woman come to one of his seminars that she was never going to be a really big client for him, but she really needed help. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to go to the Social Security office with you. And he went to the Social Security office with her. And he spent half a day at the Social Security office with her and sat there and walked her through everything that she needed to do. And she never became his biggest financial client because she didn't have those kind of assets. But she did become one of his biggest advocates and would tell everyone about this wonderful thing that he did for her. And so I think when we don't just look at it as like the immediate return, but also the relationships that we're building and the energy that we're putting out there. and what we're creating as far as the space that we give.
Ooh, what a amazing story. It gave me chills hearing it, going to the security office and her probably being very overwhelmed, intimidated, scared, not knowing what questions to ask, or they're just gonna blow right past her, trying to get her on to the next person that they need to help as well. And going back to when I was on the podcast recording yesterday for Bad Bitch, we said the same thing. When you're from your heart, it might not come back to you immediately or as quick as you think, but it builds. It builds, and then there's waves, and just having that advocate out there is huge, knowing that he was acting from his own heart.
I think we find our tribe that way. I really I really believe, like, the more, like, we get out there, the more those people will just connect, that like attracts like. And so the more we keep doing that, the more we keep finding those people in our circle, and the more that circle of reciprocity grows.
Circle of reciprocity. Beautifully said, Jen. And the wrong people, they'll find their way out, even if they were attracted in the first place. And we can, it might be scary, but we can let them go. We can let them go, knowing that. Amazing, Jen. So, talking about the strategy behind the marketing, expanding beyond our kind of own little bubble and networks through these mailers and getting the word out there, consistency and flexibility, being flexible, being playful in the room itself, feeding off of the energy that's there, engaging with the audience, long-term game. So be patient with those that might not be ready to act now. And that's what we talk about, salesy, right? Salesy manipulative tactics. Right? That's what I'm thinking. Like, I remember going through some different coaching program like that. Felt very salesy to me, like almost forcing somebody, manipulating them to act now, and then they don't. Then you just turn them off to you forever. Versus leaving that door open for people to come in and out when they're ready. Felt much more expansive to me. I don't know, for you too, Jen.
It feels right to me. It's I've gotten really comfortable with just running my own business that way, that I'm just gonna do what's right, and I'm just gonna give from the heart, and I'm gonna take care of it, and I'm gonna take care of my clients so that they can better take care of their clients. And I know that the more that I'm doing the right thing that feels right and aligns with my values, the better my business grows. And I just trust in that. And I think that we can all trust in that.
That's a great way to this segment of Women Behind the Millions, and thinking of what an example you're setting up for your daughter as
Mm.
well. For her to see you doing that, and you're gonna come home feeling so much better about the work you're doing, happier, fulfilled, satisfied. She's gonna take that and it's really gonna direct where she goes with her own career or business as well, too.
I think for her and also for the women that work with me, for the women who are 20 something coming into business, I want to be the mentor to them that I never really had. I want to be able to give them that sort of, it's okay. We're not running our businesses the way that all the men did for all those years. We can create our own path and let's go do that.
Ooh, that's so good. Did you have a mentor as you're going through? Did you have a male mentor?
I had a lot of male mentors, and I had a lot of male mentors that talked sales in like sports analogies that never resonated with me. And I had this one female mentor that I will never forget. And she backed me up and she fought for me and she stood up for me. And she was the most wonderful sales director early on in my career that I could have imagined. And she really became my inspiration for the leader that I want to be, that I wanted to be more like her and give to women what she gave to me. And to this day, her name is Kelly. To this day, Kelly could call me for anything and I would do it. It doesn't matter what the question is.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'm just thinking of we're off to a women's conference for AssetMark, one of our partners, next week, an hour where I'm going to be on a panel, myself and a bunch of our trendsetters, talking about mentorship. And I just had a call with a young advisor who works at her father's firm, and that's my backstory.
Yeah.
And it's not meshing right. She has a very different vision, so helping her navigate. And she kept asking, well, I want to make sure this is mutually beneficial. And I said, I'm very grateful for you to see that and be respectful of my time and wanting it to be beneficial for both of us. But somebody did this for me. I had a mentor, and she wasn't even in the business, but she was a leader who helped CEOs and executives. So she showed me a lot of that skill set. And I said the same thing to her. And she said, women do this way too much. Don't worry about it. I want to do this for you. And she probably knew at some point I would then do it for somebody else. So instead of paying it back, you pay it forward. And it got to what you're doing with the women that you surround yourself with at Leading Response. Amazing. Amazing. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Ladies, stay tuned for Jen. She's going to give us some tips, some trends, as well as we get back from our quick commercial break. At ThinkFix Production, your story matters. Your voice matters. You matter. It is a privilege to hear your story because of the truth behind it. But it also takes a courageous woman to be bold enough to tell their story, knowing some will judge you, but most, yes, most, will applaud you. We want you to step into being a thought leader and making change in this world because let's face it, lady, you won't feel satisfied until you make your mark on the world. We accomplish this through several forms of media, podcasts, book publishing, magazines, TV shows, and events. We take you through our 5-step proven process to becoming a thought leader, from getting clarity over your mission, building confidence to use your voice, leveraging the media to declare your mission, aligning with strategic partners, and how to launch your legacy. Yes, we build a platform with you so you can ignite your revolution. All right, ladies, welcome back. That was a little bit of our mastermind. The second day, we did a roundtable discussion and kind of piggybacking on what we were just talking about mentorship. We all were talking about, and this is all women in the financial industry, right? How can we engage with more women investors, clients, advisors, interns, right? And we just announced a scholarship to our recipient as well. And what we all decided, Jen, and I'd love to see what your thoughts too, that next year for that event, we will all sponsor a young woman who wants to step into finance or is just short in the financial industry, bringing them to that event, allowing them to have the different conversations with women of all different ages, tenure within the industry as well for it. So, Jen, what are ways that we can engage with more women to get them into the industry, do you think?
Well, first of all, I love that. I mean, it's true, right? You probably know better than I do that it's only 30% or even less of female advisors. So it's even less.
Teeny. I think I've heard in between 18 and 30%. So it's somewhere around there. And it hasn't changed in 20 years, which is even worse, right? We've had no growth, no progress at all.
So I love this idea of y- sponsoring women and bringing them in. I will help you. I'll bring one.
Yes.
I'll happily bring a young female advisor in because that's always been every time I've had a female advisor who called me, I'm like, I want to help you. And let's start with marketing to women. And if I get a female advisor, I just typically will start there. And I'm like, just know that these events are wildly popular. They're wildly well received. And there's this thing called an affinity bias where we like to work with people who are like us. And, in that, I had always, I hadn't known I was doing it. I've studied marketing psychology for years, but I hadn't known that I was doing it in my own life. But I would only choose female professionals, female real estate agents, female mortgage brokers. I've only ever gone to female doctors. Everything that I was doing, it was a woman that I was finding that without knowing it. And so there's a lot of us out there who are just looking for someone, and we don't even know that we're looking for women, but we're looking for someone who speaks our language. And so we need more female advisors who are going to speak the language of women to other women. And male advisors who do a great job of it too. I mean, I'm not discounting the men who do a great job speaking to women.
Yes. Very true. And that would bring us right into, we're going to call it our business tip. We have done it before where it's right, the money tip, the divorce tip. This season is more around businesses for women, building them, marketing, strategy, the operational side. financing, recruiting, all of that stuff as well. So, Jen, what would be a business tip that you would give another female advisor? We've done a ton on this show, but what would be that go-to tip?
So, my current mentor is my chief revenue officer. It's a guy, uh, but been a wonderful mentor to me. And as I've grown in my current role, every idea I've come to him with, his response to me is almost always the same thing. He goes, "Think bigger." And I come back, and I'll come back to him with something else, and he'll go, "Think bigger." And over again, he's told me, "Think bigger." And so then I come up with these big ideas, and it's given me this license to just dream big. And it's also set me into a lot of reflection on how many times in my career did I sell myself short just not thinking big enough, that I did not dream big enough, or that I did not believe in myself big enough, or I didn't know that I could. And so it's been this license for me to just go bigger, and it's been incredibly inspiring. So I would say my business tip to you is, whatever it is that your dream is, whatever it is that you've got going, whatever it is that you're planning, think bigger.
Ooh, that's probably one of my favorite on the show. This will be our 4th or 5th season, Jen, but that is amazing. I think we all need to have on our computer, on our mirrors, right? Where do you do that kind of reflective thinking, that creative flow? And then challenge yourself, how can this be bigger? How can this make more of an impact? How can we reach even more people, more audiences, more give back, more legacy? There's amazing. Like,
Everything that we do, I think we can go bigger.
we can. Yes, we really box ourselves in, and unintentionally. It's just because we usually stay within what we know, what we're familiar with. What that zone is.
And maybe a bit of that, and I know women are so prone to it, and men too, but women in particular, that imposter syndrome, that idea that I can't,
Good morning. How did you know?
or I'm not qualified to, and so enough of that, just go bigger. And the only way that you're going to learn it is to do it. So just go do it. And the worst thing that happens is you fail. And I'm getting much better. I'm now in my 40s. I'm getting much better at embracing failure and being okay with failure, and knowing that failure is part of it. And with each failure, I learn more so that I can do better next time.
Ooh, yes, it's just a learning. It's a journey, and I started to view imposter syndrome. That means you are expanding beyond what you typically do. That's a good thing. So when that comes up, that is a clear sign that you are growing, ladies. We're on your way. Just acknowledge it's there, and then you can move on. Don't let it really paralyze you in that fear and the imposter syndrome. But it is very prevalent for women.
I tell myself and others, like, let's just get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because otherwise we just sit there in that space and we repeat the same year over and over and over again, or the same day, or the same week, or the same thing. So if we want to grow, then we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
You'll appreciate this. Our creative director, Alyssa Goldman, she has a flag behind her desk. So I see it all day long when I have meetings with her, and it says, "Comfort is a slow death."
Right on.
Boy, it's just a reminder. We need one that says, "Go bigger." Next to it, "Comfort is a slow death, so go bigger."
Go bigger.
Good. All right, Jen, how about a business trend that you are noticing?
So I think over the last 4 years, post COVID, there was, what happened during COVID is that we all realized how valuable in person is.
Mm.
And so there was this feeling of seminars, which we've talked about a lot in this show, of, maybe before COVID, where they're like, oh, those are dying down, or those are old school, or that is whatever kind of connotation that people had. And now we realize the importance of being in person and the value of being in person, and that you can't replace it. And so if someone says to me today, like, seminars are old school, I'm like, I don't like that word. I'm like, seminars are classic, and classics are classic for a reason. And there's a real value of being in person that we can't replicate online, and that we can't do. And there's this true value of just breaking bread and having dinner and having a social situation with someone that is incredibly important.
The personal touch. I remember some of my clients who are single, I haven't hugged somebody in months. In months, like that physical touch we need, that's that connection, the energy in the room, that personal touch, looking somebody in their eyes, engaging with them. You're right. Nothing can replace in person. And I know the conversion is better too, right? As the people to engage with you afterwards is so much higher doing in person. There's a space for virtual, and I'm not against it,
Absolutely.
right? We're doing it right now here where we can engage and we can do more because we don't have to worry about traveling nonstop. Oh, even at the Wealth Boutique with our advisors and team, we always do at least one or two in person because it's also what happens in between. The little conversations on the side, the questions, me and the team, for us as a community at the Wealth Boutique too. It's like what happens after dinner when everybody changes and they're not uncomfortable, they let their rags down, they share genuine experiences. Going back to your point, being more and more authentic. You can't capture that in the virtual setting.
And I'm with you. Like we do a lot of digital marketing, we do a lot of webinars, and they absolutely have their place. And I can have a meeting with someone and not travel 3, 4 days to go have a meeting with them, and that's important. But we all realize now the value of in person, and we saw that at your event. The the connection that we could build just talking to each other while grabbing muffins or whatever the case.
And dancing to this band from Nashville, she was incredible. You gotta get her on the show too for it, as well. Well, we have one more question for Jen, but we're gonna take a quick shout out to financial trendsetters, which is what brought us together initially. So those of you who are just listening to the podcast version of the show, financial trendsetters revolutionizing the role women play in building wealth, building and also protecting wealth. We'll say too, you can get the paperback, hardback, or ebook on Amazon.com. And all the book proceeds now will be being raised for next year's scholarship because our goal is to do this scholarship every year, the PBWC Financial Trendsetter Scholarship Award. I can't wait to these women. I don't know about you, Jen, but I was not thinking this way in high school. The recipient, she had a nonprofit. She had multiple businesses. I just go to Stanford, blown away by her. I'm like, I don't know if she has time to do all these things. I was just being a kid at the time.
It's amazing.
It's
Can't wait to see. Yes.
yes, yeah. We have to keep her in our world. And with that, Jen, one more question.
What makes you a woman behind the millions?
I am so committed to helping other women, like, as we've talked about this. So I started, when I was doing the women's events, and starting that whole program, it was about helping the women as they prepared for retirement and making sure that they were served and cared for. And then it was also about helping my clients who were these, primarily female financial advisors, and knowing how underserved that they were and taking care of them and helping them grow. And then now it's about all of those things. And then also, as we spoke about too, the mentorship and all the women that we get the opportunity today and the honor and the privilege of mentoring so that they can have this opportunity to grow that you and I may not have received.
Ooh, wow. That's beautiful, Jen. Do you think your daughter's gonna follow in your footsteps?
I don't think so. I think that her mind is really geared towards like architecture and engineering. And I hope that she becomes a really wonderful architect or engineer or maybe an astronaut.
It's still all male-dominated industries, so you're still paving the way for her to see women can still thrive and do very well.
And what I will always encourage her is to think bigger.
to think bigger. I love that. Sarah Blakely Spanx, or we all know Spank. We love Sarah Blakely. I've heard her say that at the dinner table, her father after school would ask her, and I believe her brother, "Where did you fail today?" You seen this too? "Where did you fail today?" And like, oh, whoa, that would be a little intimidating, but he encouraged them to fail because they would,
Disappointed. He was disappointed if she didn't have an answer because that meant that day she hadn't tried anything new.
I think that is an amazing example and standard to set, right? How did you fail? I recently did a triathlon with my husband. We're preparing for an Ironman in a few weeks here. And afterwards that night, my daughter, who's 6, asked me, "What mistakes did you make?" I was like, "Oh, I made a lot of mistakes." I made a lot. She's like, "No, no, no. Give me one." I gave her a few of them too, but it's important for her to see that we still make mistakes and learning never stops.
I love that she's asking you. You've been teaching her well.
I was
She's asking you. Did you ask for the question?
No, I was really impressed by that. I don't know where it came from, but I gotta start asking my kid those questions now. My son's 4. I don't know if he'll get it quite yet, but she wants to be older than she is. Probably same with your daughter. Right. All right. So she actually sang on stage at our gala, Taylor Swift with the band. I know you weren't able to tell me after you spoke, but she sang Taylor Swift, what, "You Belong With Me." That song?
I love it.
On stage, and I asked her afterwards, I said, "How did you feel?" She said, "I wanted to take a breath, but everybody kept coming to me to say that I had done a good job." I'm like, "Yeah, they were so proud of you and excited for you." So I'm like, "You know what I do? I go to the bathroom." Excuse myself to the bathroom. You better know to go. Take your breath, and then you can go back out there. But I was blown away. Being a very painfully shy child growing up, I couldn't believe the courage to sing in front of 100 people at the event. Plus, it was live streaming to the show itself, but it was amazing. So next year, Jen, you have to stay for the gala.
Absolutely.
Dance your ass off, and maybe bring your daughter, because that would be really cool too, to have a girl squad there as well. But thank you, Jen, so much for being a part of our community. Huge advocate for us women in the industry and out, because that outreach to bring them in to educate them is just incredible. So thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you so much. And not only will I bring my daughter, but we can get them together and have them sing together some Taylor Swift. How about that?
We'll have, yes, exactly. I love it, Jen.
Let's-
And thank you all for tuning in to watch tonight's episode of Women Behind the Millions. Thank you for supporting our show. It's growing, and it's all because of you amazing ladies and money queens. And we will see you next week. Hey, money queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at PinkFixMyMoney and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire money tips.